Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I am your host, Dennis Patholkis, and this is Legion, Season 1, Episode 1, Chapter 20. Wow. That's all I can say. I didn't realize until the very end this episode was directed. It wasn't directed by Noah Hawley. It was actually directed by Andrew Stanton. And you're probably wondering, why do I know that name? Where have I heard that name before? Toy Story 2. He is one of the original founders of Pixar, Andrew Stanton. Yes, that Andrew Stanton. And yes, it's a pretty damn good episode. So again, this series is something that you either did you ever see Ratatouille, Viking Bitch? He did Ratatouille as well. He actually stepped in and covered that whole thing because the shit show that it was. So he's a great director. That's all I can just say. So this series is something you either really love or you really hate. There really is no in between on this. Some people find it pretentious shit. Other people see the makings of the universe in it. I am one of the latter rather than the former. So I love this show. It's one of my favorites. And I'm sad to see it go, but it is going out on its own accord at this point. They knew that it was, well, actually, Noah Hawley is just getting too big at this point. And yeah, I'm not really doing it justice to the Superman Lex Luthor quote about a chewing gum wrapper. But before I get started any further, because I will end up spoiling some stuff. Spoiler alert. I am going to spoil the shit out of this episode. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it and then come on back. Because I mean, wow, it's a mind blower. I'm going to go and see this thing again. So when it comes on West Coast time here and watch that thing again. But I got the East Coast feed and holy shit, that's all I can say. And thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle there. Wow. Yeah, I definitely need to watch this one again. It's all, I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff. If you're not into really trippy shit, you're not going to like this series. You're not going to like this episode. And they are going into the really, really trippy shit now with both feet, arms, legs, head, the entire body's just going in now at this point. And case in point, they start off with a test pattern that says, please stand by. And it kind of warps and morphs and says bedtime is here is what it says. And we see a woman with headphones on and she's listening to instructions on time travel. Basically, it's called Lessons in Time Travel. And basically what you can do that, time travel, there are really no rules to it, is what this guy is saying. It's in Japanese, so it's subtitles. And the subtitles are of different sizes and they're all over the room. They are not just the normal subtitles at the bottom. This is very creative. They actually fit the space as she's walking through. And it's one of those things I actually like when people think about the subtitles when they're putting subtitles in. If you want to see a great movie that is just fun, I mean, and it's got Ron Perlman in it, Woody Harrelson, Demi Moore. It's called Bunraku. And there is a whole segment of nothing but subtitles that are actually comic book kind of subtitles, but done so well and placed in so many different places. It's a great cinematic view if you want to go and see that. Yeah, you knew that I was going to be excited about this, Viking Bitch. We both knew we were going to both be excited about this because, I mean, come on. You see what I'm wearing here, right? Because this is always blue. It is always blue. And yes, so we see this woman. She's listening to Lessons in Time Travel, and she's having dinner at the table. And this television gets wheeled into this big room. It's just basically her sitting at this big table. The television gets wheeled in with a guy sitting there who's eating as well, and he's asking her how her day went, how her studies are, and basically all the answers are just kind of benign, like, it's the same. Everything is always the same, is what she says. And he's like, oh, that's great. And he's done. And he sits back and the television gets wheeled out. So she goes out into the world and she's walking down the street and she sees a flyer that tells basically it tells well she's leaning forward and she steps on here's a scream as she steps forward to look at the flyer, and it's a flower, and the flower is kind of crumpled over, and the flower is the thing that screamed. The flyer basically tells her, don't trust the mustache, and have you seen the pregnant virgin? And she's just kind of weirded out by that, like, what is all this mean? And we also see that it says she goes to class, and she's still listening to more of the instructions, and then she's walking home again. She sees the flyers a little bit different now. The flyer says find the orange fish, and then 89.1 is what it has it on there. And she goes home. She's sitting there and she's thinking about it. She pulls up the radio and tunes into 89.1. And by the way, so this is all stuff millennials will not know. The test pattern, the tuning into the radio with the dial and all that stuff. I mean, sure, digital, she could have done it with a digital radio, that kind of thing as well. But, Noah's old school. Andrew Stanton is very old school because he's older than I am. So he's definitely going that route. She turns into 89.1, and we hear Lenny saying that if you missed this, you can replay it. If you have the means, you can replay it. And so we see her do this weird thing. We see this light in the air that she actually etches a square, and she goes back in time. She's a time traveler, obviously. That's what the flyer was asking for. They're asking for time travelers, is what this thing was. And she goes back, plays it again, and slows it down. And as she's listening, she can hear another voice underneath everything. And it's David's voice that says, follow the yellow bus. And it's very kind of slow and kind of melodical. He just kind of says, follow the yellow bus. And so she's kind of wondering what the hell that means. And so she's back outside again, and she's walking, and this double-decker bus is rolling by, and she stops and looks at it. And there's these women that are inside of it that are kind of doing all kinds of hippy-dippy movements, all this stuff. And she sees that it says, are you having problems? The pregnant virgin can help. And as it rolls away, she sees it says yellow bus in the back. And so she goes chasing after it, finds out where it stops, and sees that all these people are going into this one door that has the pregnant virgin symbol over the door. So she goes inside, and she is greeted by this white space that has racks of clothing. And at the end of the rack of clothing is a girl sitting at the counter. And every time she tries to approach the girl, the clothing racks start moving. And she moves too, the girl in the counter. And she keeps trying to move over towards the girl, and it shifts around. It goes behind her, goes to the other side, and she finally parts the clothing a bit, and you can hear talking. You can always hear talking. That's the one thing about Legion that it does, is you have a lot of dialogue. It's very odd. It's very visual, and it's very oral as well. So your ears are always, it's actually designed this way. If you go and take a look at my panel that I did, that I recorded for Comic-Con last year from the Legion panel, they talk about that it's very, very visual, and it's very audio as well, very, very audio driven. And so you hear all this chattering, this talking and stuff, and she's going through the clothing, and when she comes out, she sees different counters, and including the girl that she was looking for. And she walks up to the girl and says, I'm here to see the pregnant virgin. And the girl puts up a sign in front of her and asks her if she's lost. And that's what she says, I'm looking for the pregnant virgin. So she flips it up. She flips one of the signs away, and it says closing time and is near. And she goes, okay. And sign flips again and says, what's her name? And she's like, I don't know. And it's closing time is coming, of course, and everything's kind of swirling around her. And she goes, wait, she remembers the orange fish, and says salmon. Her name is Salmon. And that's when everything stops. And we get a musical montage. And damn, but it's this musical montage that it keeps playing this song called Something for Your Mind. And honestly, because it was so trippy and stuff like that, I'm probably gonna have to download the damn song now at this point. Damn you, Noah Hawley. Um, and they're singing this thing as the everything's kind of swirling around, and we see these hippie people kind of playing the music, and they lead her to a tunnel. She actually gets a little change of clothes as well. We have a clothing rack go past her, and she changes automatically. And then they send her to this tunnel that she's crawling through, and she crawls out of the building through the sky, across through a couple other buildings, and then through the universe, through different parts of the world, things like that. And she finally comes out in this room where all these hippies are laying around, smoking, having sex or whatnot. And she's greeted by this pregnant woman and says, "You've arrived. Great. We've been waiting for you." And she's like, "You have? You've been waiting for me?" You're like, "Yeah, the breakfast queen. You're going to meet the breakfast queen, she of the frosted flakes," which we know is Lenny from season 2. We found out that Lenny was the breakfast queen. Uh, yeah, it's so she gets led into this room. Well, first she actually gets brought over to this guy named Squirrel, who's the alchemist, and he's looking at her and goes, "That's very 2 days from now," is what he says about her outfit. And he asks her what her name is, and she says it's Ji Yi. And he goes, "No, no, your new name is Switch." And she's like, "Okay." And they send her on her way. And so this pregnant girl, takes her to this room and says, "You're going to wait for the queen here," and opens up the door, and there's a giant clock in the room, and says she'll be along fairly shortly. It's not a long wait, and closes the door, and the door locks behind her. So what does Switch do? She sits down and fast forwards through time, and a lot of time. It just keeps going, 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 and she finally, stops it a little bit, and we see that Lenny comes in, and Lenny introduces herself, of course, and we see this couch spring up from the floor. It actually grows out of the floor, out of tendrils, and Lenny sits down and asks her about her, who she is, and Switch asks if it's a cult. And she goes, "Kind of," is what Lenny says. And uh, she says, "Well, you're a time, you asked about a time traveler. I'm here for I'm a time traveler." And Lenny says, "Prove it." She goes, "No, not to you. You're not the leader here. I'll only prove it to him," is what she says. And yeah, I do. I like that Viking witch. I like your vibe. Very 2 days from now. Yes, I want to say that to somebody at work as well. Um, David opens up the door and introduces himself, and asks her in for some tea, and tells her a little bit about himself, and that also this place is a place that he helps people with problems. And in exchange, he wants them to stay a little bit, maybe clean up the place a little bit, love each other. Uh, and he's the magic man, is what he calls himself at this point. And, he has her imagine her room. And of course, it appears when she opens up her eyes. And she goes, "How'd you do this?" And he goes, "This is a mental image. It's headspace, essentially, is what this is." And he read her mind, and she's not comfortable with that at first. And he says, "There's no secrets here. Everyone's thoughts are open." And he's very, very cult like at this point. Uh, Kind of scary, even more so than what we saw in the last season with all the multiple different Davids. This David, I think, actually scares me a hell of a lot more because he's a little too mellow, and at the same time just kind of fucking frightening as far as I'm concerned. Very David Jones, and very, very cult like. And I'm pretty sure that's what Dan Stevens was going for. And kudos to you, Dan Stevens, for fucking freaking me out in that one, because it does do a really good job. He did a good job of that one. And he tells her briefly about himself, that he's been in that he was misdiagnosed, put in some mental facilities, drug use, all that kind of stuff, and that he had his own demon, Farouk, and whatnot. And then he asks her, "How are you?" And she goes, "I'm fine." He goes, "No, how are you?" And she's like, "Okay." "No, how are you?" is what he says. And finally, she tells him about this room that her dad likes to collect robots, and he has an entire room of nothing but robots and hundreds of them. Some of them are life size, things like that. And she likes to sneak in at night and pretend that she's one of the robots. She doesn't move at all, and basically pretends that she's one of the robots, which is kind of weird. Um, so she wants to know what the forces of division are, because that was one of the things that was on the flyer as well, as face the forces of division. They lie. And why does he need a time traveler? And he pictures Sid. She goes, "Oh, it's about a girl. You want to go back and basically patch things up with her again?" He goes, "No, it's not that simple." He goes, I can't do that." He goes, "I thought about that, but I can't do that." And then he tells her more of his story about, a little bit more about how he was, in a mental facility, the drugs, of course, and how he was a monster. And she goes, "You were a monster?" And he goes, "No, that was who I had riding inside of me since I was a child. It was Farouk," is what he says. And just very, very weird. In the meantime, we got Squirrel sitting outside, and he squeezes a flower, which squeals. He drops a couple of drops from the flower into his tea and drinks it. And then he sees something move out in the compound. And he stands up, and he's standing there, and he's looking at it. He's got his teacup in his hand. And we see this gigantic stage hook, like a cartoon stage hook, come and grab him and yank him. It yanks him so fast that his teacup is spinning in midair and then falls to the ground. And that's when we see the forces of division come streaming in. They're going into the house at this point. So David, we cut back to him, and he says he needs a time traveler to go back into time. And at this point, she asks him how far, and he goes, "Well, how far can you go?" And at this point, we see Carrie come down a line inside the hole. The room has a hole in the roof. It's hard to it's hard to explain, man. I mean, there's a lot of trippy shit in this. That's all I can say. And he ends up there's a shockwave that comes out, knocks them both down. Carrie shoots a bolt onto David's forehead, which incapacitates him for a second. And he's able to stand up and fight back a little bit as the division forces come in. And he's about to raise his arm up to do some more damage when Carrie comes out with her katana and slices off his arm. And he gets pissed and just disintegrates her completely. And some of the soldiers that are with him, and they start firing at him, and he's holding up a wall, stopping everything from firing. And before he can do any more damage, Sid shoots him from behind and kills him. And at this point, we see Switch. She rolls on the ground, and she rolls into time space, essentially. And we see her as she's walking back. It says 10, there's walls that say 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And in the entire time, she still has her headphones, by the way. So she's still listening to chapter 14 now of Lessons in Time Travel, that you can't go back too far, because the farther you go back, the farther you move, you risk waking the demon. And you hear something sinister back there kind of laughing. We don't know what the demon is, but if you go back too far, you can wake the demon. And she goes back about an hour, pops back out again, and tries to convince him everything that's going to happen. And she kind of does, but Division still ends up going inside, and his followers are fighting them off. She gets grabbed at one point. He's obliterating people. He's actually using his finger as a gun and shooting people as well. And again, Sid kills him again, and she has to go back again in time. And that's one of the other things too that this narrator is saying, is that you can't go back multiple times. You can't go back too many times. Otherwise, shit begins to happen. And you shouldn't overlap with where you've been before, kind of thing. Yeah, I love the Hallway of Time. That was actually really good. That was still pretty damn good, I have to admit. And I mean, she ends up looking at where she's going to go. She's going to go back even further. And all of a sudden, she opens up the door, and Farouk is there. And Farouk has intercepted her at this point. And yeah, It's oh, and by the way, Farouk was all he's working with Division. So he was there also when Division had gone into the house. And so he's fighting alongside Division to try and take down David as well. And yeah, so he ends up in space time. He intercepts Switch the second time around, and he tells her, he makes this little garden, and she goes, "Oh, this is a mental space, right?" And he goes, "Very good," is what he says. I love how he switches between different languages. He switches between Farsi, French, Cantonese at some points, English, and you always have subtitles whenever he's speaking a different language other than English, and it's just a very it's very disconcerting, but at the same time, for as old as this character is supposed to be, it works. And it works in this context as well. It's you're supposed to be disconcerted by him. You're supposed to be thrown off by him. He is old. He's over 2,000 years old, and he is supposed to kind of fuck with your mind. That is what Farouk is all about. I like this version of Farouk better than the comic version, believe it or not. Um, it's actually really well done, very well done. So yeah, he wants to talk to her, of course, and he brought her to the astral plane to talk to her. And he tells her that he was looking for David because David's very hard to find. He used to be really easy to find because he was very loud and uh, not cognizant of his powers. And now he's learned so much that he can hide himself. But she, on the other hand, he could find her, and he just happened to find her while he was looking for David. And he says, he's very ill and he wants to help her. And she says, "Well, why does the blonde lady keep killing him?" And he goes, "You've seen this?" And she's like, "Yeah, I've seen this." And she goes, "Well, why?" He asks her, "Why do you want to help him?" And she says, "Because he's a man and you're a robot." And she uh, creates a time portal and escapes from him. And I was just like, huh, Farouk's a robot? What the, you know? And this is when we see this gigantic plane that is now Division's headquarters. And they're, of course, they're getting ready to lead the assault against David's place. And we see Clark, of course, and his husband, and they're discussing, why are we, wasting so much resources on this one person? And Clark is like, because he can destroy the planet. And if we don't waste the resources on him to stop him, there's nothing left to save, essentially. And that's when Farouk comes in and says he has a time traveler. And Clark's like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, he has a time traveler." And they said, "And why didn't you stop her?" And Farouk says, "She has skills. She got away from me." And he says, "Time is a little bit tricky." He goes, "Especially in the astral plane, it's a nexus point where time and space meet." And he had kind of explained it. It was kind of an interesting way of explaining things with the astral plane, and how you don't age and things like that, and why you don't age because of that whole astral plane thing. And I want them to do a little further exploration of that, quite honestly, because it's a very interesting concept. And it just was very yes, it is very stonerish too, I have to admit, but it is really damn good. um wow, there's just so much stuff here that was going on. And so of course they spot David's location and they're gearing up for everything. And Farouk warns him again about the time traveler, and Clark says, "Well, they're just going to have to kill her too," is what Clark says. And Farouk's like, "All right, yeah, great." So in the meantime, we have Sid in her little alcove in the plane, and she has tattoos on her wrist. One that says "me," and on the other wrist it says "first." So me first. And she's poring over some books. She has her own little library there, and Farouk comes in and tells her that they found David. She goes, "Great, I'm going on the mission." He goes, "No, you're not." And she goes, "Yeah, I am. I'm gonna go." And he says, he actually has a good point. He says, "You are still have some leftovers of the love for David in you." And we still don't know if it was David that forced her to love her, or if she actually did love him and then fell out of love with him, or what's going on. there was a whole weirdness that happened in season 2 that we're not sure if it happened or not. That was the whole thing. It's not, David isn't even sure that he did this to her. And yeah, it's just very, very odd at this point. So she basically says, you know what, I'm going. Case closed. That's it. So they're getting ready to go the assault. We see them driving up in the trucks, and Carrie says that he built in these thought dampeners into everyone's helmets. And oh, that was the other thing I kind of missed. I kind of glossed over as well. So on the plane as well, Carrie is building a robot himself, and it turns out to be Patanomy. And Carrie asks, well, why does he have a mustache? He goes, I don't know. I just decided to put a mustache on him. And remember, Patanomy now is in the mainframe, and Patanomy downloads himself into the robot and can move around, and even asks, why do I have a mustache? And but doesn't identify as Patanomy. It identifies as the mainframe, which is very weird. And it's kind of weird. He keeps going back and forth between kind of robotic and then Patanomy. And we're going back and forth at this point too. Yes, don't trust the mustache. And I believe the don't trust the mustache might be Patanomy, to tell you the truth. It's something's wrong with Patanomy on this one. And yes, I agree. It is nice to see Patanomy again as well. So Carrie has built in thought dampeners into all the soldiers' helmets, and also into Batanomy's unit himself. And we see Division go in, and we see it from their point of view, how they take down Squirrel. And just as they grab Squirrel, there's a blinding flash of light, a big blast of air. And when it clears, we see Division kind of stand up, and the Squirrel is stunned on the ground. He kind of looks up and he sees Division just kind of walking slowly, everybody walking slowly over there, and the house is gone. That all what's left of the house is a gigantic crater and a tooth that Sid picks up. And that's where we leave off. Yeah, or we have Time Keeps on Slipping Into the Future playing. It's a different rendition of it. But yeah, that's where we leave off. And all I can say is holy shitballs. Uh yeah. Some good stuff. Yeah. So, hi everybody in the chat. Yeah, I finally got through the recap there. I had to go through and recap it, man, because I mean, I had to get it out of my system. It was there, and it was just weird, even having to, written it down and regurgitating that. It it was cathartic actually, because it kind of got me. When I tell you guys this stuff, when I recap it like this, it actually helps me um, process it quite a bit, and that's what helps me with the review of it. I know people always go, "Well, you're just kind of recapping everything we just saw." Yeah, I know I'm doing that. There's a reason why I do that. That's what the whole beauty of YouTube is about. You get different, viewpoints from different people, man. That's what it's all about. Yes, I am very happy right now too, Viking Bitch. It's one of those things that they are not. Yeah, I agree with you, Pen Farm Girl. Legion is back with a vengeance, and this is they're going out on their own terms. They are just saying fuck it to anybody who hasn't been on board as of now, and they are doing their own thing. Noah Hawley's going to do things the way he wants to do them, and quite honestly, I'm welcoming this. This is something that you're never going to see again on TV. It really isn't. You're never going to see anything this weird on TV again. I can almost guarantee it. Um, just for weirdness sake, quite honestly. Stormy Scott says, "Woo, thank goodness this wasn't a disappointment like some other shows. Happy and VB is happy." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Howley just needs to let his freak flag fly, man, and that's what he did. Yeah, Sid kills David twice, man. That's just kind of hardcore. The Vermilion got new outfits. Yes, they did. Yeah. The Vermilion still are pretty damn funny and weird too. I want to know what the whole thing is about the Vermilion. I mean, I know that they are constructs of the mainframe, but they are actually people before as well. So they are living computers. Are they kind of like thumb drives that are walking around that are being controlled by the mainframe? What the fuck are the Vermilion? What are they? And yes, I know that Admiral Fukuyama is the one that is in control of them as well, but he's no longer in control of the mainframe. That's Patanomy now. So what is going on? And why is it always blue? I mean, I just realized this shirt is blue. They gave us and yes, it is. It's always blue. Ah, man. Just some good stuff. Viking Bitch says, I just found out today that Dan Stevens was in Downtown Abbey. I never wanted to watch that show until now. I still don't want to watch that show. Penn Farm Girl says he is so different in that VB, very prim and proper, repressed British. It made Legion all the more astonishing for me. He actually does there's a Netflix movie that he did. It's a horror movie. It's really good. I can't remember what it was. It came out last year. I'm blanking on the name, but it's set in the early 1900s, and it's really good. It's really good. It throws back to the old Hammer horror films, kind of like Wicker Man in a way, but not Wicker Man, not as weird. It's still weird though, but it's pretty damn good. And Dan Stevens just excellent in it. Joker says, "Thanks, Slurmy. I'm going to Legion and probably rewatch the video so I can understand the episode." Oh man, yeah. Yes, he does have weirdness with a purpose, Viking Bitch. I do admit that. Of Penn Farm Girl, it looks like we see Daddy Professor X next week. Possibly. That explains, why we need a time traveler. So he needs to go back a little further. It's always blue. Apostle. Thank you, Penn Farm Girl. Thank you. Apostle was really good. Yes. He's been in other things too. He played I forget what it was. It was some movie that just came out a couple of years ago where he kind of plays the jilted boyfriend and he's a rich guy that's paying for her apartment. I can't remember what movie. It's a really boring role for him. And I looked at it and I'm like, dude, I'm glad you're into, stuff like Legion and Apostle and things like that, because this role was not for you. Yeah, definitely. Oh man. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to next week's episode. I'm looking forward to this whole season. This whole season is nothing but a gift as far as I'm concerned. This is the pinnacle of TV, for me anyway. I know a lot of people aren't going to like it. It's not their cup of tea. I understand that. I get it. Um, there's other stuff for you out there. Just like, some stuff isn't for me that everyone else loves. Game of Thrones. There you go. I liked Game of Thrones. I thought it was okay. It just wasn't the end all be all for me. Viking Mitch says, I am wondering if Lenny is going to be less prominent this season. She is there for sure, but not as much as last season. She might have been filming Child's Play at the time, and that might be the reason why she's not there as much. She might show up later on at the final episodes. So there we go. Pen Farm Girl, he is in one of the Night at the Museum movies with Ben Stiller. Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I have to go through some of his filmography and see what he's done. Dan Stevens, he gets better and better. Yeah, he has misses too, like any other actor does, but they're not like significant or oh my god, that ends his career kind of thing. No, it's nothing like that. It's just kind of like, yeah, okay, you did a bad movie. Everybody has it. I mean, Gary Oldman has them. Everyone does. Viking Bitch says, so true. I am so happy to have this last season of deliciousness. Yeah, it's yeah, it is my favorite show on TV. I have to admit, it is my favorite, just because it's so damn weird, and it's comic book. It's very, very comic book. It's very It's just very out there. And it was comic book before Doom Patrol came onto the scene. I'm sure without Legion, you wouldn't have been able to get the weirdness of Doom Patrol. I mean, sure, you would have had it at some point in time, but I think it helped quite a bit that you had Legion come out and do this kind of stuff first and do this kind of weirdness and comic panels and I mean, a white space, all that kind of stuff. Yes, it's great. It's awesome. That's what you need. You need some more shit that thinks outside the box, quite honestly. Stuff that isn't boring, stuff that actually makes people think. And that's what this is. So, this is weird, but not weird for no reason. It's just beautiful work of surreal art. So smart and trippy. Yeah. And I get it. Some people are going to say it's pretentious, navel gazing bullshit. I get that. Yeah. It's like I said, sometimes it speaks to you, sometimes it doesn't. And this speaks to me. So, yeah, not a moment of scene is wasted. Exactly, Pen Farm Girl. I agree with you on that. So, with that said, if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You can hit the dislike button. Just leave a comment down below in the comment section. It tells me what you don't like. Give me some constructive criticism. Pretentious, bah, no haters allowed. Some people can say that. I don't mind. That's just people trying to, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's all I can say. Don't bash other people's stuff. Now there's some stuff that's legitimately bad out there. But yeah. Stormy Scott says, knowing when to end a show is something too many producers never learn. Walking Dead. Yeah. Well, see, that's because it's a zombie show, Stormy Scott, and it keeps going. Sorry. Yeah, if you want to know when I'm going to be on again, you can hit the bell down below. If you've already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick it. You can go in and get as many or as little notifications as you want in that bell setting. You can also go to my website, suspendedfanimation.com, and see the schedule up there. I change it every week. You can also see that same schedule up on my Facebook page. And I also have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I have a Patreon page. The Patreon page will be getting tiers in a little bit. I just needed to put some other stuff into place first before I actually do the tiers. All right. Let's see. Tomorrow I am doing Good Omens. Yes, I am going to cover Good Omens in just one review for the evening. Chicken Burger Disco. And Wednesday, of course, is Krypton. I'm doing Krypton. I'm doing that on Wednesdays. Thursdays, iZombie. Fridays is Swamp Thing. And of course, Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off, where I take the genre news of the week and talk about all of that and any genre stuff you guys want to talk about. And of course, Mondays is what you're watching right now, Legion. And I don't have anything on Sunday. That's I needed a little time to rest as well. Good Omens was beyond awesome. LC3566. I thought it was all right. I mean, you'll see what I talk about it tomorrow. I mean, yeah. I did finish it, Viking Bitch. I finally finished it yesterday. Yes. And then I started watching Barry. I started the first season of Barry, and I was like, why in the hell did I watch this before? I was like, oh, yeah, it's because I didn't have HBO. That's why. Yeah, I'll talk about it tomorrow, Viking Bitch. You'll see. Yeah. And yeah, and Good Omens is a series. It is not just a one and done season. It's a series, is what it is. Amazon even says so. It says it's a series. So there you go. Will the shirts have profanity? No, they will not, Joe Greer. They're actually fairly tame, but they're kind of cool. I think they're going to be kind of cool. But we need this space to discuss after watching Legion. Yeah, we do. We really do. And that's the whole thing. That's what this is all about. Exactly, Chicken Burger Disco. There is nothing like this show anywhere at all. And like I said earlier on, this is something that is going to be one and done. You'll never see anything like this again. I can almost guarantee you that you'll never see anything like this on television again, because I don't know what the Fox executives were smoking, what they were butt chugging, or anything like that. How Noah Hawley, he must have had some kind of really incriminating evidence on them. Maybe they ate one of their nephews live, while they were, alive still, a la Happy, and they had the videotape for it on beta. Maybe that's what the case was. I don't know, but I don't know how you get a show like this made. And yeah, it's oh well, I know because he had Fargo already in the can, and he's probably like, I want to do this show. And they're like, I don't know. They go, I got Fargo. And they're like, all right, we'll do it. I haven't seen Fargo, Joe Greer. I've heard nothing but good things. And also Bruce Campbell playing Ronald Reagan is kind of one of those things that kind of wants to bring me into the fold a little bit, but I haven't seen it as of yet. I will watch it at some point in time. Again, I just have so many hours in the day, and work unfortunately takes up a lot of it. Yeah. So good stuff. And now I'll have 3 glorious seasons to make me happy when I'm having a bad day. Legion will live on. Yeah. And the thing is, he's going to end it well. I'm fairly sure Noah Hawley will end it. It'll either be a very ambiguous ending or it'll be a straightforward ending. It's one or the other with him on this. And I really kind of hope he goes with the straightforward ending. I really don't like the ambiguous endings where they just kind of leave it in limbo and you're like, shit. But yeah. I can plug the STL. I don't know what you meant, Joker. Penn Farm Girl says, I'm so glad we got this show, and even though Happy went downhill, I'm glad we got it too. Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole thing. The woman who plays Sid, I'm blanking on her name all of a sudden. Anyway, she's on Fargo as well. So that is where I believe she started off. And so that's how Noah brought her into the fold. And yeah. Chicken Burger Disco, exactly. Season 2 had some beautiful episodes. I've gone back to just how amazing they were. Yeah. The for me, it's always the musical numbers. I love the musical numbers in this series. I don't know what it is about it. They do, normally I shouldn't like the musical numbers. It's just something that doesn't float my boat, but this does it for some reason, and it's great. They do such a good job of it. And that whole thing with the clothes on the clothes racks moving around along with the people sitting at the counters, and those things are moving around on wheels in this white space as they're singing that song and playing that music. Rachel Keller, thank you, Baking 101. I actually knew who she was, but I was having a brain fart. Thank you so much for pulling that out for me. And yeah, just that whole thing of them dancing around with the clothes racks and the counters, and um, just so well done. So well done. And the choreography on this thing, and it's just on an empty soundstage that they're doing this, and it's just awesome. Yes, they have made great use of music and everything else. And it's if you go back, like I said, I have it up on my channel here. If you go take a look at the videos, the panel, the full panel for Comic-Con last year for Legion, minus Noah Hawley, because Noah wasn't there. He was out shooting his movie, Lucy in the Sky, at the time. And so everyone, it was kind of funny. People were asking questions of the panel about Noah's process, and some of the stuff. They're like, we don't know. We just come in. He tells us what to shoot. We shoot it. We wonder what the hell it's going to look like. It looks questionable to us. Then we see the final product. We're like, oh, that's what we were doing. And so everyone kind of seemed clueless about what the hell Noah was doing. He needed to be there for that panel just to kind of explain a lot of stuff, and he wasn't, unfortunately. I'm really hoping that he is someplace at Comic-Con this year, just so I'm going to go and see wherever he's going to be at. If he's there, I will definitely be there. So Penn Farm Girl says they've always, I already said that, but I already did. Yeah. It's getting late for me too. And I know it's late for you guys out on the East Coast. Viking Bitch says it's a total immersive experience. The visuals, the sound. Now we just need to add smell to be complete. Yeah. Did you think David was killed too easily? I don't. Daniel Barry Allen. Thanks. That I don't think he was killed that easily, quite honestly, because he was his powers are growing. You can see him every time they confront him, his powers grow, and he knows how to use them more and more. Like when he got killed the first time by Sid, he was only distracted by a couple of things, like his arm getting cut off and just getting rid of the bullets. The second time he goes through, he is stopping bullets. He is shooting guys. He is pulling stuff down. Farouk's there as well. Farouk gets pulled aside by his by David's followers, if you will, and also he's trying to save Switch at some point as well. So his mind is getting divided into different places at this point. His attention is getting divided. So Sid popping out of nowhere and killing him. She's been studying him all this time. That's what her whole thing is, and I think that's what all the books are. Is she's trying to study how to defeat him, and that's why she's able to shoot him. Yeah, he did Thanos without the gauntlet. Exactly, Chicken Burger Disco. He didn't even have to snap. He just waved his hands and they disappeared and into dust. That was one of the things that was kind of awesome too. And yeah, he was able to walk through a wall of machine guns. We saw that at the end of the second season, and also we saw it here as well. Yes, Sid has that headband that blocks her her thought waves from being broadcast to David. He can't see her. Chicken Burger Disco did look cool this episode. Did you guys notice all the Matrix references? There were a whole bunch of different references, or a ton of references in here. And yeah, it's like I said, Andrew Stanton. Andrew Stanton was the director on this one, and he is a pop culture junkie just like the rest of us. So yeah. And I love that they brought in a well-known director. I mean, granted, he's been known mainly for his animated stuff, but to show him doing some live action stuff, even just a live action episode, is beautiful. And you can see that translation from so this is the whole thing too that kind of pisses me off, is that if you're an animated director, people don't think you can direct live action, which is bullshit. Animating Directing animation is a shitload harder than directing live action. It really is, because you have a whole bunch of different people doing animation, and you have to put all these things together, and it's storyboarded out the same exact way. It really is. The only thing is you're out on a soundstage with physical actors for the live action stuff. And yeah, Brad Bird, Mission Impossible, exactly, Joe Greer. That was where I was getting at. Is Brad Bird knows how to direct. All these animated directors know how to direct live action stuff. They can. It's just a lot of them get pigeonholed because people don't think they can make the transition, which is bullshit. Daniel Barry Allen, why do you think Switch was the only person in colored clothing? It felt like until she met the group, everyone was gray in the background. That's a good question. A lot of people were wearing blue because it's always blue. I don't know if you noticed that, except for David. David's wearing color. David's wearing all color, and I don't know if that's a significance to that, or if that was just something in the color scheme that they were trying to get across in the episode, or what. So, all right, Viking bitch, I'm gonna wrap it up myself here. So I'm gonna get going here as well. Hippie and then steampunk, even though Rogue Nation is my favorite. Yeah. All right. So David Tennant and Tom Cruise love to run. Yeah, I know Tom Cruise runs everywhere. He's like 40 minutes of running. So if you like what you see here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I've already said this before, but I'm going to reiterate it. If you're still on the fence about joining up, there's going to be a video up here that's going to pop out of my video library. It's going to be suited for you, basically based on everything you've been watching on YouTube. It's going to take that algorithm, pop it up there, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. All right, Daniel Barry Allen, thank you. Everybody in the chat who joined me tonight, Joe Greer, Mr. Roboto, Daniel Barry Allen, Viking Bitch, of course, Slurmy Scott, Penn Farm Girl, And Chicken Burger Disco. Great name, by the way. Thank you very much. And I miss anybody else? I did not. I think I got everybody there. If I missed you, I'm sorry, but thank you. Oh, Baking 101. Thank you. There we go. I knew there was somebody else that was in there that I was missing. And thank you as well if you made it all the way through to the end of the video here. And I will see you guys tomorrow for Good Omens. And with that said, don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, you may end up getting killed multiple times by Sid and having to go back in time in order to get yourself unkilled, which isn't going to be all that great because then shit starts happening and mess up the timeline. So thank you very much, everybody. Good night, and I will see you tomorrow.